everybody, and welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel. And for the first time, we are both back, ready to go to record another video. Hello, everybody. As always, my name is Jake Ricker, and joining me today back is Michael Wax. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. We saw a disappointing end to the regular season, but that ultimately does not matter. The 56 games the Lightning have played this season have all come down to this best of seven series in which the Lightning are only guaranteed 4 games. And we've seen that before. And we said that last year, and we went all the way to the Stanley Cup finals and did the thing. So let's do that thing again.
Yes, let's do it again. So in this video, we're going to be going over the series schedule, some of the previous games, some of the regular season stats between these two teams, and some difference makers and keys to the game that we think. I'll have some chapters down below so you can skip to any of the sections that you may want to check out. But with that said, let's get right into it. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are obviously taking on the Florida Panthers for the first time ever between these two franchises. Should be a really fun game. Looking at the series schedule, the Lightning will be starting things off on Sunday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. That one's going to be in Sunrise. And then on Tuesday, May 18th, they play at 8 p.m. Again, that one also in Sunrise. So a little bit of a gap there between game one and game two. Game three will take place on Thursday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. That one back home at Amalie Arena. And then on Saturday, May 22nd at 12:30. So an early game for the Lightning in this series, that one again at Amalie Arena. And then we're headed, this is more in the to be determined section, obviously, because technically you only need 4, but on Monday, May 24th, that one is to be determined for the time. Then Wednesday, May 26th, and Friday, May 28th, all of those are to be determined on the time, and you can see that all on screen. So an interesting first round schedule, Michael, because again, as I mentioned, we start on Sunday, don't play again until Tuesday, and then play on Thursday, Saturday, and then Monday. So a couple times we have a couple days gap in this schedule, and then a 12:30 game as well. So not like a consistent, one day off in between each game, and then always starting at 8 p.m. schedule. So it should be interesting.
Well, you're right, and also you're kind of not when it comes to the fact that it is 1 day rest per game, which is something that is weird because we didn't see that last year. If you remember some of the games that we had, especially during the Stanley Cup Finals, there was a back to back, and that was weird because you had the two arenas in Toronto and Edmonton. You could do what you wanted. Now there are different things coming back with everything sort of resetting itself in the world. There are different things coming to these arenas. So they don't really have these opportunities to make the schedule that they want. But for the Lightning, they did luck out and they got a rest between each game. The fact that there is a matinee Saturday game is fantastic because that's the one that I'm going to be going to. But as far as the timetable goes, the Lightning have had this recent set of struggling during the afternoon games. I think that's going to be the most interesting part is all of these time changes. How are the Lightning going to respond to being able to have their routine change? Maybe they have to do their exercises like an hour later, and what's that going to do to their body clock, and how are they going to respond during the game? It's a very silly question, but at the same time, this is something very real that the Lightning and most of the NHL has to deal with every single day.
Well, and the other thing we should mention too is that because these games are being both played in Florida, the travel isn't as crazy as say it would be for a Tampa versus, I don't know, Kings. They're not in the playoffs, but from East Coast to West Coast kind of thing. That's short travel technically by a long shot compared to a lot of other first round matchups that you might have. So you'd expect maybe these guys to be more ready to go than some of these other first round matchups might be when they're traveling, but only time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look at the previous games between these two teams. Now, normally when we get into the playoffs, there's usually only about 3, 4, maybe even 2 games that these teams have played against each other. But this time there are 8 games because we all played in the same division. So I'm going to put those up on screen now. In game number 1, the Florida Panthers defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 5-2. But in game 2, Lightning came back and won that one 6-2. In game 3, Florida won that one 6-4. And then in game 4, Tampa Bay won that one 5-3. Game 5 was the first and only game that went into extra time. The Lightning won that one 3-2. In game 6, Florida won 5-3. In game 7, Florida won 5-1. And then game 8, the Florida Panthers got the only shutout of the series and won that one 5-0. But something important to note as well, in those last two games, the whole Lightning team was basically out on injury or suspended. So two games that I don't think you can take really into account very much, Michael.
Honestly, this entire 8 game series, throw it out the window. Like, when it
Right.
comes to the regular season, there are certain things that you look at and you go, well, we'd like the Lightning to clean this area up. We'd like the Lightning to maybe have a better power play. That's the main thing, I think, for the Lightning in this series is making sure that their power play is actually good. Because against the Panthers, it did not look good, especially in those final 2 games. Say what you want about the missing pieces, but boy, oh boy, did they not generate any chances in those final 2 games. That's going to be the big thing for the Lightning is, build off of what you did during the regular season, what you did well, while also limiting chances for the Panthers. When you were reading off the scores, it was surprising to me how many times the Panthers scored 4 or more goals against the Lightning in a game. So that is part on Vasilevsky. He probably needs to be better. I understand McElhinney played some of those games, but Vasilevsky needs to be better against the Panthers. Also, that's against the defense. There's a reason they got David Savard. They're getting a bunch of injury people back, like Ryan McDonough, Victor Hedman, and Jan Ruda. They have the depth to be able to replace certain pieces like Luke Shen, Cal Foot, uh, Andreas Borgman to an extent. This is the time for the Lightning to really make sure that everything is good because as we've seen with a team led by Sergei Bobrovsky, if things don't work out in game 1, the rest of the series sort of goes haywire.
Right. And we've said time and time again that the regular season doesn't matter. The playoffs are a completely different beast. You really have to throw out the regular season games. You can look at them and try to get a general idea of how things could potentially go, but at the end of the day, they are not telling for what will happen in the playoffs. So despite the Lightning struggling a little bit, they should be okay. Mentioning the power play, well, it's going to be a completely different power play for the Lightning. They were practicing today as of this recording, and the power play lines were Sergachev, Johnson, Palat, Sorelli, and Gore. That was the second power play unit. And then the first one, get ready, Michael, Hedman, Point, Killorn, and Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov. I cannot wait for that power play line to get into action. That's going to be a lot of fun. But let's quickly look at the regular season stats for both the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. The Lightning had the advantage on the power play, 22.4% on the season. Florida only at 20.5%. As for the penalty kill, Lightning had the advantage there as well at 82.7%. With the Florida Panthers at 18.4%. And then in goals for per game, Lightning did not have the advantage here actually at 3.21 goals per game. And then the Florida Panthers 3.36 goals per game. And then as for goals against, the Lightning were a little bit better there in that category at 2.59 goals against per game. And then for the Florida Panthers, 2.70 goals against per game. So when looking at the stats, technically the Lightning lead in a majority of the categories, but again, regular season stats, they don't matter too much, but it is important to take note the Lightning do have the advantage in special teams, even though they were not great against the Florida Panther in that category. But again, as I just mentioned too, this power play is going to look completely different, and it's going to be interesting to see if Stamkos and Kucherov, despite maybe being a little bit rusty, can make a huge change to that power play unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether or not they can make a huge impact to that power play, maybe get up to 1 out of 4 instead of closer to 1 out of every 5 would be a huge difference maker, especially in this series where goals are going to be hard to come by. This is a good Florida Panthers team. I understand they don't have Aaron Ekblad, but they have some really, really nice defensive pieces, especially headlined by Mackenzie Weegar, who's quietly becoming one of the best defensive defensemen in the entire NHL. But the Lightning are no slouch either. Like their defense is stacked from 1 to 6, and then you go into the depths of Luke Shen and Cal Foot, guys that have played games for the Lightning this season and done quite well when they've gotten into the lineup. So I really think this series is going to be a test of which teams score more goals and which teams limit opportunities. And you could say that about every single series. I understand that. But this series in particular, you sort of know what you're getting when it comes to the Panthers. You sort of know what you're getting when it comes to the Lightning, but which team can execute their game plan the best?
That's a great point. Now let's take a look at your difference makers for this series. Michael, you selected David Savard for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He has 1 goal, 5 assists, and 6 points on the season. However, he has not scored a goal or an assist yet with the Tampa Bay Lightning, although he is more of a defensive defenseman, so that's not too surprising. And then for the Florida Panthers, you selected Brandon Montour, who has 7 goals, 11 assists, and 18 points on the season. He's also another trade deadline acquisition for the Florida Panthers. They picked him up from Buffalo. So, Michael, what are your thoughts on these two players, and why can they be difference maker for both these teams?
Well, so we talked about during our trade deadline acquisition, dream list, both of these guys. We talked about Montour getting him for a lesser price, and Florida paid a lesser price to get him, only a third round pick. Then we talked about David Savard as sort of a dream option because we were like, who's going to take on that cap hit? There's no way we can get David Savard. Then we got David Savard.
Surprise.
So it was a welcome surprise. The reason that I think these two acquisitions are so important is again because the defense is going to be very vital to this series. David Savard, what he brings to the Lightning are two things in full. He brings right handed defensive depth, which is something that is sorely needed. We talked about Luke Shen and Cal Foote. You know, if I had to make my ideal lineup for a 7 game series, I'm not sure either one of those guys are in the lineup because it's so important to have Eric Chernak, Jan Ruda in the lineup, and then get someone like David Savard that you can plug and play on the second or third pair. And especially if you have to, maybe put Mikhail Sergachev on the right side. Like that's not an ideal situation. So getting David Savard is very important. The second key thing is that David Savard is a really good penalty killer. We talk all the time about how the penalty kill forwards for the Lightning come at you in waves. They don't have Barclay Goodrow in this series, but they have Blake Coleman, they have Matthew Joseph, they have Yanni Gord, Anthony Sorelli, Alex Killorn. The list goes on and on. Can you name 4 penalty killers for the Lightning? Because off the top of my head, besides David Savard, I can name 3. So getting David Savard is very important for the Lightning's penalty kill. They won't be on the penalty kill, hopefully, a lot, but when they are, they're going to need Savard. Now, as far as Brendan Montour goes, he has done exceptionally well in Florida because he was so bad in Buffalo. Like, Buffalo was a complete disaster. He comes to Florida, he gets put in that middle 4 or bottom 4, I should say, and he's excelled. He's been very, very solid. He has been okay when it comes to replacing Aaron Ekblad, but again, who can replace Aaron Ekblad? But he's someone that can play both sides. He can play left defense if he has to. He can play right defense if he has to. That's very vital for the Florida Panthers, and it really allows someone like Keith Yandel or Mackenzie Weegar to explore the space of the ice when you got someone that you can trust on the back end, like Brandon Montour. So Montour is a very vital piece for the Panthers, and he's going to need to be a vital piece defensively, if not offensively, for them to advance.
I completely agree with you there. And, David Savard, despite the losses Lightning had in those last 2 games, I thought Savard played a pretty good game against the Florida Panthers. He looked like he's starting to fit in with the Lightning's team because, sometimes it takes a little while to get used to how a different team plays when you've played for the same team your whole career. So I'm excited to see what Savard can do. Hopefully he can get his first point very, very soon with the team. But finally, let's take a look at my keys to the series for the Lightning to win this one. And here's what I have for number one. I have special teams because, as I showed in the regular season stats, Lightning technically did have the advantage in both the power play and the penalty kill. We just talked about David Savard, who could be a huge help out on the penalty kill, and everybody coming back on the power play. We should be able to take advantage of that, no question about it. Number two is play physical. Listen, we know this is going to be a physical series. We saw it in those last 2 games. Ideally, we don't have anybody getting hurt and being that physical, but we know it's going to be physical, so you have to play physical as well. It's the reason the Lightning picked up guys like Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. last year for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Unfortunately, we're going to be down one of those guys in Barclay Goodrow, but hopefully he'll be back soon enough. And then number 3 is Andrei Vasilevsky, because listen, at the end of the day, these two teams are very evenly matched, but goaltending is often the difference maker. And Andrei Vasilevsky, who hasn't played great necessarily against the Florida Panthers, he's played all right. There's been some games where he's done really well, but especially in the last couple of games, he wasn't fantastic. But he can run away the series all by himself if he wants to. So if Vasi is playing well, then the Lightning are in good shape. And that also means the Lightning helping out Andrei Vasilevsky, because you don't want to put everything on his back as well. The Lightning have plenty of talent, and they're capable of helping Vasi out, even if he does tend to struggle just a little bit.
Yeah, so an interesting stat about Vasilevsky against the Florida Panthers this season. And again, we try not to put too much stock into these regular season stats because at the end of the day, the playoffs are a different animal. But this is from Tim Reynolds on Twitter at by Tim Reynolds. He says Lightning goalie Andrei Vasilevsky has given up 4 goals through 2 periods tonight. I believe this was the last game of the season. It's only the third time this has happened in his last 73 games. All 3 of those instances have been against the Florida Panthers. Number one, that speaks to Andrei Vasilevsky's brilliance. Like, he's very, very good at what he does. Number two, the Panthers are no joke. Like, they can score on you in bunches. We saw that against Vasilevsky. We saw that against Curtis McElhinney. The Lightning's defense is going to have to step up if they want to advance in this series.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be interesting to see how Vasilevsky plays. And again, as we've mentioned so many times, playoffs are completely different. So, those stats could not matter at all. Andrei Vasilevsky could let in 0 goals this entire series. Who knows? But it'll be a lot of fun nonetheless. So before we wrap up this video, we're going to go and do our predictions. Michael, I'll start with you. How many games is this going to take, and who is going to be winning this series? What do you got?
Well, so before we started recording, I said that out of all the Central Division opponents, the Panthers were not at the top of my list when it came to the Lightning probably losing to them. Like, top of my list is the Hurricanes. The Panthers are a very good team, but I do think the Lightning can take them, especially with their reinforcements. They've played really well against the Panthers, even without Nikita Kucherov. The series was 5-3 in terms of the Panthers, but if you take out those final 2 games, it was a 3-3 tie. And at that time, they had McDonough, they had Stamkos, they have Hedman. This is going to go 6 or 7 games, but I do think the Lightning are going to come out of this series. So I will say Lightning in 6. I want to see them clinch it on home ice and go to round 2. But again, this could go 7 games. And I think that a 7-game series between the two Florida teams could do wonders for hockey in Florida.
That's a great point, because we haven't had this big rival for the longest time in Florida. Normally the Lightning are pretty good against the Florida Panthers, but this team, the Florida Panthers team, is good. There's no question about it. You cannot discount them. They're a good team. I know a lot of fans are hoping for a sweep or something to shut the Florida Panther fans up, but that'll be tough. As for my prediction, I'm going with the Florida Panthers in 7 games. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the defending Stanley Cup champions and the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously. I may be a little bit biased, but I think this one could easily go 7 games. I could see it going 6-2. I doubt it goes 4 or 5. I'd be pretty surprised if that does happen. I'll be pleasantly surprised the Lightning are able to do it in that amount of games, but I'm going to go with Lightning in 7. I think this is going to be a long series. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a battle because, as you mentioned, you do need to count those 2 games technically, but before, when everybody was technically healthy for both teams, it was a 3-3 series tie. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a fun one. I cannot wait to get things started. Michael, anything else to add before we wrap up the video?
As far as a series that I've been looking forward to, I think I really think the only series I've looked forward to more in my hockey fandom has been both of the Stanley Cup finals that the Lightning have been in. Like, this is a huge deal for Florida. This is a huge deal for Tampa. I really hope this series goes 7 games. It's not going to be good for the Lightning and Panthers fans in terms of how they're going to feel.
My heart
But
rate.
but at the end of the day, I want to look back on this series and go, that was one of the best series in Tampa Bay Lightning history. And of course, they won. So of course it's one of the best. But as far as the series itself, I want to look back on it and go, this was amazing. And I hope that the Panthers continue to succeed and the Lightning meet them possibly in the conference finals next time. Who knows?
I couldn't have said it better myself. And I think a lot of the fans around the NHL agree with you on that one too, as there seems to be a lot of eyes looking towards this series. So it's going to be fun. I'm really excited about it. So, hey, if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like down below. It lets us know that you're enjoying it. It really helps us out. We really do appreciate that. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Give us your predictions down below, how long you think this series will go, or maybe let us know your difference makers that you think are going to make a huge impact in this game. Any and all comments are always appreciated. We love seeing what you guys have to say. But be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. We're having game recaps once the games finally get underway. Those are coming back to the Bay Bolts channel. But with that said, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, your Tampa Bay Lightning are still your defending Stanley Cup champions.
Go Bolt.